Welcome back to 65 Drums. My name's Justin. Today we're going through the entire EFNOTE lineup to see which drums are worth buying and which ones I don't think are as good of a deal. Starting off with kit number 1, we have the EFNOTE 3, coming in at $2,000. So EFNOTE is different from other companies I've covered in this series so far. Currently, there are no entry-level kits. The EFNOTE 3 is the cheapest one they offer at $2,000. This drum set features a 12-inch snare, the toms are 10, 10, 12 with an 8-inch kick drum pad. The cymbals are 12 inches for the hi-hat, 14 and 14 inches for the crashes, and a 16-inch ride cymbal. And almost all their cymbals have 3 zones and 360 triggering. Of course, I have to mention that whether or not you actually get a bell zone depends on what you plugged in and whether or not the sounds actually support it. The drums feature 2 ply mesh heads, and they have an average level of bounce. All the components sit on this unique system of stands that's kind of like halfway between a drum rack and regular individual stands. The most important thing to know about this drum set is that the EFNOTE 3 is the only one in their lineup that doesn't come with a 2-piece hi-hat on a dedicated stand. Instead, it's a 1-piece pad and pedal combo. It features an optical sensor and a unique post design that makes it a step above how other companies implement this sort of thing. But at the end of the day, the hi-hat is still a 1-piece pad that flops around while you're playing on it, making it the one major drawback of this kit. So is this drum set worth buying? I think there's a lot to like about this drum set. The sizes are great, the overall value is decent, but the hi-hat is really holding it back. So I would go up a tier if you can, but if you want to buy this drum set, it's pretty decent for what it is. Now, before we cover the second drum set on the list, you'll probably notice I won't be talking about the module very much when comparing each drum set against each other. That's because the modules are very similar. You have the same number of inputs, the same number of outputs, the same editing features, the same screen, and a similar sound set. But there are a couple of differences. As you spend more money, in general, you'll get more memory and a few more sounds. This results in different kit lists between the 3, 5, and 7 series. The 3 series has some classic drum machine sounds unique to that line. And the 7 series has some larger sound files with a trio of preset kits unique to that line. So the differences are there, but it's very minor. I wouldn't choose one drum set over another just because it had a certain EFNOTE module. Instead, I would focus on choosing the right shell and cymbal combination that fits my needs. So with that out of the way, let's move ahead to the next drum set, the EFNOTE 5, coming in at $2,499. So here are the sizes. The kick drum is 16 by 12, the toms are 10 by 7 and 12 by 12. The snare is 12 by 5. For the cymbals, you get a 14-inch set of hi-hats, an 18-inch ride cymbal, a 16-inch crash, and an 8-inch splash cymbal. This drum set's a pretty good choice for people that prefer a more acoustic look to their electronic drums while staying compact. It's kind of like a Pearl Midtown or Ludwig Breakbeats kit. So not full acoustic sizes, but close enough for a lot of people. The bigger ride cymbal feels great to play on and looks really, really nice. Moving away from that tiny kick drum on the EFNOTE 3 to this larger 16-inch one is a really big step up in feel. But hands down, the biggest upgrade is to the hi-hats. I've tried pretty much everything out there, and in my opinion, these are the best electronic hi-hats at this price range. The only real downside of this drum set is that you get one less hi tom versus what comes on the 3. But with all the different upgrades you get aside from that, I feel like in total, this drum set is a very good value for what it's offering, and I think it's worth a buy. Next up is the EFNOTE 3X, coming in at $2,699. The sizes are 12 inches for the kick and snare, 10, 10, 12, and 12 inches for the toms. The cymbals are 14 inches for the hi-hats. You get 2 16-inch crashes and an 18-inch ride cymbal. Now, as you've noticed, we've been zigzagging between 2 very different styles of electronic drums as we go up in price. The 3 and the 3X are for more traditional electronic drummers that want to save space. Meanwhile, the 5 and 7 series are for drummers that prefer larger shells that feel heavier and look acoustic-like. So while the 3X just costs a tiny bit more than the 5, it actually makes more sense to compare it against one tier below that, the EFNOTE 3, because they're both aimed at a similar type of buyer. I really like this kick drum. I think it's a big step above the little one on the EFNOTE 3, and it also stays relatively quiet. Of course, you get those better hi-hats, which is a very big draw for me, and getting 4 toms is great to have. You also get the larger ride cymbal and the larger crashes. So given the price, is this drum set worth buying? I feel like it's a good value for people that want a classic electronic pad style kit. Next up is the EFNOTE 5X, coming in at $3,448. The shell sizes are 16 by 12 for the kick drum, 12 by 5 for the snare. The toms are 10 by 7, 12 by 12, and 13 by 13. The cymbals are 14 inches for the hi-hats, 18 inches for the ride. There are 2 crashes that are 16 inches across, and an 8-inch splash cymbal. This drum set is the full package to me. You get plenty of cymbals, the toms are in that 1 up 2 down configuration, and I love that darker shell wrap. It takes all the strengths from the 3X and the 5 and puts them together. My only real criticism is that the module is still super basic. At this price range, I feel like EFNOTE should start adding more bells and whistles. And as a side note, if you don't really care about larger shells, the 3X is a better value per dollar. All that being said, I played this drum set a lot. It was a joy to play, it held up, and I think it's worth buying. The next drum set is the EFNOTE 7, coming in at $3,999. The kick drum is 20 by 15, the snare is 14 by 5.5, the toms are 11 by 8 and 15 by 15. The cymbal sizes are 14 inches for the hi-hats, 16 inches for the crash, and the ride cymbal is 20 inches across. That is the largest rubber ride cymbal from any company in the entire industry. I was really surprised when I first saw it. Oddly enough, there is no splash cymbal on this drum set, which I was expecting to see because the EFNOTE 5 has a similar sort of configuration and it comes with a splash. Okay, so is this drum set worth buying? For me, it depends on what you personally want out of a drum set. Pound for pound, the 5X is a better deal than the 7. But when I made my review of the 5X, there were some people in the comments that said, I love the idea of the 5X, but the shell sizes are just too small for me. So I think the 7 is made for that kind of customer in mind. The base configuration is pretty sparse, but you can upgrade it to be fully spec'd out like what you see on screen right here. There's a configuration tab on the EFNOTE website where you choose a layout that you like from the list, and it will tell you what add-ons to buy and what cables to assign to those pads. But apparently there will be an EFNOTE 7X very soon, so I would probably just wait for that if you need a full expanded drum set. My guess is that it will look something like this and will probably be in the neighborhood of $5,000. That's as much as I'm going to guess for now because it's coming out at Summer NAMM 2022. I'll be able to play it at the convention and put together a first impressions video soon after that. Alright, so that's EFNOTE's lineup so far. But it leads to a natural question. Where's the rest of the drums? Well, the reason why EFNOTE's lineup is so sparse is pretty simple. This is a brand new company. They started off with a couple of drums and slowly began adding more. I wouldn't be surprised if we eventually saw an EFNOTE 1, 1X, 2, and 2X. But if that happens, I think it's still at least a year or two away. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. Okay, so now that we've covered all the drum sets they currently have, and ones that I believe are coming down the pipeline pretty soon, let's take a step back and talk about who this company is best suited for. So my current impressions of what they're going for is that they want to make acoustic looking drums that just stay out of your way. They want you to sit down, turn on the module, pick a kit that you like, and start playing. If you need to have 12 direct outs, and you need to have XLR outputs, and you need to have the ability to adjust virtual room mic placement and virtual shell depth and all this stuff, this company is probably not for you. This is for people that want a no-frills, acoustic-sized electronic drumming experience, and they just want, 12 natural-sounding drum kits. That's who this company is for. It's also a pretty good choice for people that use a lot of drum software plugins, because if you're using Steven Slade or Superior Drummer, you don't really need the module to do that much. You just need a USB out that has good triggering and low latency. So that's the video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you especially to the people that support 65 Drums on patreon.com, and I'll see you guys in a few.